Hello everyone, this is CJNovo992 and today we're back for another brand new video, and today is the day that we part the questions / frustrations regarding our domestic form and we turn and set our sights on the brightest of bright lights as that Champions League theme tune, that Champions League money is luring us in, and if we have a good performance over the next two European ties, that gives us the opportunity to not only make the Champions League group stages, to make some Champions League money, but to potentially sign some Champions League style players. That would be very, very nice. Whilst on the other hand, if the more of Disney go well, let's not get into that. Positive thoughts, right? We're finally going to learn to defend. That would be nice. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, you know the script by now. We're here for the oppositional preview. We'll then look at the Rangers side and we'll obviously break down the latest Rangers news / try to predict what the Rangers squad could potentially be, which I imagine will raise a couple eyebrows, maybe frustrate a lot of people, but aye, it's just the regular scheduled programming right here. Wow, it does now put us through the ringer. But before we do get to the Rangers end and get speaking about the players I'm expecting to be played in certain positions, let's go ahead and move in and talk about the opposition and find out about a team we do recognise from our pre-season, but I imagine it's going to be a vastly different approach and mentality and strategy from them than we saw a couple of weeks ago in the friendly, because at my current time of recording, Club Brugge comes into this game of football sitting 4th in the old Belgian league, which I imagine for a lot of the Rangers fans watching today's video will be sitting saying, Club Brugge sitting 4th, okay CJ, I like the sound of that, because usually Club Brugge are up there top 2 spots fighting for titles, so when you hear about a team sitting in 4th you go, okay, I fancy that. But honestly, that's just surface level clickbait stuff that might be used elsewhere. Once you start peeling away and once you pick at that, you'll see they've played just 4 games, explaining their position in the league, because in the 4 league games they have played so far this season, they have won 3 of them whilst losing 1, and the loss does sound and is a bit of a surprise when you didn't know the context, but once you start adding the context to it, it starts to make a wee bit more sense, as it happened just before their vital Champions League qualifier versus Salzburg, and they made several changes to their starting 11 and their substitutions as well during the game of football. As clearly they had not only one eye, but some might say 2 eyes on that game versus Salzburg, as they went into the league game without their starting right back, without their starting centre back, without their starting goalkeeper, and during the game of football, despite losing the game, they still rested and brought off their striker, their right winger, their centre mid and their other centre half, keeping them as fresh as possible for the game versus Salzburg. So aye, unfortunately we can't look too much into their 2-1 loss they had this season, because if there is one fan base in football that understands what a team prioritises in European football over the domestic, it's us, ladies and gentlemen. So we can understand what they were going through and understand that 1 loss. But again, we can't really dive too much into this season as it is still incredibly young. So what we'll do is we'll have a wee glance at what they've done last season leading into where they are right now versus Rangers, because that will give us a better perspective of who they are, because they've got the same manager, 90% of the exact same squad, and they play the exact same way. So what type of squad actually is Club Brugge? Well, they're a side that finished 2nd during the regular season through Belgian football. Now again, they go into the split or the championship round, whatever people want to call it. I know every league calls it a different way. I'm just going to call it the split because we know exactly what that means. So when the first original part of the season ended, they were 2nd, and then by the time that the split ended, they were also painstakingly 2nd, as they finished 2nd by just 3 points, as Belgian football was shocked as USG went ahead and won Belgian football and stopped Club Brugge from going back to back league champions. And again, it is sort of hard to put into perspective how much of a shock that is, as everyone did expect Club Brugge to possibly go back to back, or especially when Genk started to fall away from it, they expected Club Brugge to bounce off and go on a run. And I mean, statistically, if you look at them in the season, they had the best goal difference. They by far smashed the goals into the back of it, as they were far and away the team that scored the most goals. So they had pretty much every pretty statistic to go ahead and win the title. They just never won the right amount of games and they fell at the last hurdle, and that gave USG the fairy tale if you want to go ahead and win the Belgian football. So they are a little bit aggrieved at that, but in terms of how they went about the business and how they looked, again, they scored a lot of goals. They scored the most in the season. They scored 15 more than the team that won the championship, and that's going to be a major problem going us into over the 2 legs, especially the way, Ty, where we've maybe rode a luck versus Victoria, and we've maybe rode a luck especially versus Panathinaikos. If we give this team with these players the amount of opportunities we have gave the previous teams, we could be in trouble. But thankfully they are a little bit slower out the traps this season in terms of putting the ball into the back of net, especially domestically. But when we wave goodbye to domestic football, because it was important to tell you how they've been playing, it is a different kettle of fish when you talk about the European stage. And when you start to look, they have played 1 round of Champions League qualifiers, because that's all that happened. If you finish second in Belgian football, you only play 1 round. It must be really, really nice. But in the round that they went ahead and played, they played against Salzburg in a game of football that away from home they picked up a 1-0 win with a very, very good away performance. It was actually a really good game where both teams had chances, both teams went about their business, both teams played football the right way. But again, Club Brugge showed that they are able to go away from home and pick up a very, very good result. And when they did beat Salzburg 1-0 away from home, everyone thought, oh well, Rangers are definitely playing Club Brugge, and it's the hardest possible test again. Of course it is, because Panathinaikos was the hardest, Victoria was the hardest, and then we're obviously playing Club Brugge. But then weirdly, Salzburg started the game absolutely on fire over in Belgium, and I think the Belgian side was sort of shocked and took away by how sharp Salzburg started, because not only did they pull it back to 1-1 overall on the tie, Salzburg went ahead and put the ball into the back of net twice in the first half to take advantage and take the lead in the tie, and it was starting to go, oh, they could be that. We could be playing Salzburg. But then Club Brugge sat forward like it was the second half when you were playing your brother at weve. They started to try. They started to get back to basics. They started to use their wingers. And when they play football their way and they're able to dictate and get the ball out wide, they usually go ahead and hurt teams. And that was inspired not only by the wingers but also by the right backs' performance as well, who ended up scoring in the game of football. They brought it back in to level, and then from there everyone sort of felt like, yeah, Club Brugge is really going to take this game over now. Despite it being still chance here, chance there for both sides, you had the feeling that Club Brugge's quality would see them over the edge, and that's what happened later on in the game, ladies and gentlemen, as they picked up 2 goals in the last 10 minutes to wrap it up and win overall in the tie 4-2. Despite the start that Salzburg had, a perfect start if you want, and despite the wee scare they had, they calmed down, they got back to business, played their way, and then they were far too sharp and good for Salzburg. Now, I imagine by now you've probably caught a lot of what we've said and you're starting to put the pieces together and the picture's starting to get a wee bit scarier. But just in case you didn't catch every bit of that, they are very good on the transition. They do play the majority of their play and build up going out wide and using their wingers to be their main attacking threat, and usually the guys that go ahead and score the goals. Their left winger, for instance, has scored the most goals for them so far this season. So a team that's built to go out wide and attack fullbacks and drive into defences is scary as a Rangers fan. But you know what else is just another added level of spice to that horror? Is, see, if you look at them domestically so far this season, they've got the open play and the threat playing out wide and the blah blah scoring the goals, but somehow, some way, the team that we play, the Mora, has a 50% ratio of open play goals and set play goals, especially from corners, as they've been very, very dangerous from them all season long. And again, has that 50-50 whether they're scoring for a set piece or they're scoring for open play. So that's definitely terrifying being a Rangers fan. And when you take a step back and look at that, when we have got where we want to go in terms of the Champions League group stage, when we have got that, it's almost like a computer game, right? You know what I mean? You've been building your way up, you've been doing this, you've been doing that, you've probably been struggling here, and then you come up to the boss battle at the end where you face all your weaknesses and face all your fears. We're against fast wingers that score goals and a team that scores set pieces. Go ahead, Rangers, qualify for the Champions League. But they do line up in a sort of 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3, whatever you want to call it. But it is built to get the ball out wide as the primarily source of where they go about the business, and their chance creation this season has came down the right-hand side for Club Brugge, which is, yeah, you guessed it, the left-hand side of Rangers, and you know how we are in that position right now. Do you see what I'm talking about how ironic it is and what the way their fit is versus our weaknesses? Yeah, everything you look at, every statistical point of view you look at, you just go, oh, course, freaking course. So aye, very similar shape to what we've played previously in the past, especially at the European stage. However, there is a couple key individual players that I do want to pick out. Obviously the likes of Royce, who went ahead and scored that phenomenal volley versus us, is a talented player. But again, for me, I'm looking at Van Aken in the middle of the park, their captain. He is a great running in late. He does arrive late into the box. He does peel away midfielders. He's got an eye for goal as well. Very, very creative. Wins a lot of fouls with a... You know what I'm saying there. Very good at the old diving. And speaking of, ladies and gentlemen, have one of the most dangerous players on the park who's having an incredible start to the old season. And that is the left winger. Now, Tzolis has played the majority of the season playing on the left-hand side, but is able to switch during a game of football, and it is something he is capable of doing. And with how glaring we are at left-back, I genuinely wouldn't be surprised to see that eventually maybe even start or go back and change. But again, by trade he is a left winger, but again, it's not as if we're very good at the right back situation either, by the way, because he's either going to be running at Tavernier, who's obviously lost half a step in terms of his pace, but then you've also got Max Aarons, who's not really showed too much so far in a Rangers shirt. So imagine the laddie that's got 5 goal contributions in 7 games so far this season, and their biggest attacking threat in terms of putting the ball into the back of net. We'll fancy his chances against that backline. I know his career never really worked out in Norwich when he first moved there at a very, very, very young age, but he's still just 23 years old. You know what I mean? It's not as if he's finished and over the hill. He's had the big move. It's never quite worked out. Now he's building himself back up already at 23, and he's just putting the ball into the back of net and being a massive, massive pain in the jacksie. So despite me saying they primarily build up over on the right-hand side, they do interchange a lot and rotate a lot, whether it is. Apologies for the jump cut there. My phone went and it wasn't on silent. Rookie error for your boy, CJNovo992. But I was pretty sure I was saying whether it is the likes of Forbes at the right-hand side, whether he starts or no, who did start their most recent game of football. What they do on the right hand side is they constantly change it and they keep it fresh, and they do make that substitution each and every single game, whether they're getting 50 minutes this way, 50 minutes next game. It keeps it fresh, and I think it's why the ball goes down the right hand side a hell of a lot. But for me, my money's on the most dangerous man on the park, Peter Tzolis, and just watching this kid's movement and where it goes. Vermaelen, and up the top, sorry, is a very, very talented player as well. He does get in the ball, can hold the ball, can bring others into play. But Tzolis for me is going to be the primary pain in the jacksie, and hopefully Rangers have some solutions, because if no, it could be a problem all damn day. Very, very talented, very, very skillful, and again, is very good at winning free kicks and penalties. A strong refereeing performance is needed as well, in my personal opinion. But honestly, that's pretty much it in terms of the Club Brugge side of things. That's me being as pretty much fair as I possibly can be. I think they are a very, very dangerous team. I think their strengths, as I've said, are our biggest weaknesses. But again, if we want to make the Champions League group stage, we're going to be able to overcome the likes of Club Brugge, because again, there's much, much, much harder tasks to come, ladies and gentlemen. So if we can't get back past this hurdle, then we didn't deserve to be in the Champions League, as brutal as that is to be said. But with that being said, let's move away from the old Club Brugge side and get to the Rangers side. And you know what's mental? For the first time this season in terms of a European preview, I get to sit and say we come into a European game on the back of a win in domestic football. Yeah, that's our first win in domestic football that's led us to European football. I genuinely don't know if I should laugh or greet at that fact. I'll probably do both later on as it starts to sink in. But speaking of sinking in, a lot of people's had their say on what was a really iffy performance versus Alloa, and a game that did frustrate a hell of a lot of people, despite scoring 4 good goals in my personal opinion. Well, 3 really good ones, and the 4th one was a penalty. But you know what I mean, you still got to step up and take it. 4 good goals were scored on the day, but the overall performance was nowhere near good enough. And if we play that slack and that slow and that loose at the back, again, Club Brugge will completely have their way with us. But again, we did get the win, and that's what needs to happen in the next 24 hours, because I don't know if you're noticing the pattern regarding Rangers so far under Russell Martin's leadership in terms of European football, but our entire progression through every stage of European football has came on the back of big wins at home. Like, genuinely, go ahead and track it back. The first game versus Panathinaikos, it was pretty ugly and it wasn't that great, but two wingers showed their individual qualities and went ahead and won us that game 2 freaking nothing. That gave us the platform to go away for European football, drop a goose egg and hold on and manage the game regarding the cheeky 1-1. We were able to manage the game because of what was done in terms of the first leg, and you didn't need me to sit and tell you what happened in the last round versus Victoria, do you? One of the best performances I've seen us have in a long, no under Martin, in a long time, was that first game at Ibrox versus the Czech side. We were absolutely brilliant. It was sharp, it was fast. I'm sitting there thinking, we've turned a corner, it's going to be sunshines and smiles. Never mind those rainbows. But unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, what followed was another poor performance in domestic football, and then going over to Czech and playing one of the worst games I've seen us do away from home in a very, very long time. And despite having a 3-0 advantage, we played that bad over there in terms of the second leg. We nearly threw away what was built in terms of the first game and in terms of the home game. So that's why, until I see us go ahead and put in any resemblance of a performance under Russell Martin in terms of away from home in Europe, I will continue to scream at the top of my lungs how important and vital this game is at home versus Rangers Football Club, where arguably, if the pattern's going to continue, it's either won or lost depending on what we're able to do tomorrow. So no pressure, Rangers, but please turn up. But speaking of turn up, that actually gives us the perfect opportunity to transition in and talk about some of the latest Rangers team names and who will be turning up for a game of football, or will hopefully be turning up. Now, right now, when I'm currently recording today's video, there has not been official confirmation that Jaden is actually in the European squad right now. I know Rangers have up to 11 PM today to get the paperwork done in terms of the international clearance to be done, and we know how long that took regarding Mikey Moore, but again, he was under 18, Jaden's 19, so it should go smooth and it should work out. There is obviously a press conference a wee bit later on as well that will hopefully sort of unveil that to us, and if there is any more breaking news and if there is confirmation that Jaden is in the European squad, I will let you know down there in the comments section below. But all I know right now is the Rangers are going to register him if his clearance is done in terms of the old international and all the boring paperwork we fans never ever see. So if that all gets done in time before 11 PM, he's gone in. Now, I'm not sure who will be coming out. Maybe you can speculate on that right now. But if you go back to what we've done with the previous changes we made to the European squad, the likes of Oscar Cortes came out for the addition of Tello Asgard, who I'm hoping and praying has a very, very, very good game tomorrow. However, there was also the addition of Mikey Moore because we took out Jeffy, who still hasn't officially left the football club as I'm recording. I know it's expected very, very soon, but you look at that, we made the decision to pull Jeffy out the team and leave us with no registered left backs in a Champions League playoff where there's millions and millions of pounds at stake, and the potential restructuring and reshaping of our squad is left down to a potential 19-year-old that's played 23 competitive matches. Why on earth do we every single year put ourselves up against it and go into these massive games of football with one high tide behind our back? Like, genuinely, I'm not trying to make an issue of this. I'm not trying to moan for the sake of moaning and all that, but we know if we qualify, if we beat Panathinaikos, we've then got that, and if we beat Victoria, there's going to be that one-off game, which will be against the hardest team, again, out of the entire competition to make it to the Champions League. Why have we put ourselves in this position? Some might say, oh, well, you weren't expecting to sell Jeff. Russell Martin came out and told us 3 weeks ago he basically never fancied them at all. You know what I mean? Oh, he still got a lot to learn. It was clear he never liked Jeffy because Max Aarons was playing earlier. Do you know what I mean? It was clear as day to everyone in that freaking building we needed somebody in there, just as it's clear to every single person in that building that Suter isn't the leader we need at the back line, and we're still waiting for a true number one. As I dare say, we also need another number 9 as well, and it's just one of those things you sit and look at the business, even like say Club Brugge have done, bringing in like Stankovic and everything like the son of the guy from Inter Milan. You look at what they've brought in and the money they've done and the people they've brought in to be ready for the likes of this game, then you sit and look at us and you understand the importance this is to us. Yet again, our hopes and dreams rely on international paperwork for a 19-year-old kid that's played 23 games and has never played anywhere near a European level. Like, what are we doing? And again, I do feel bad because I'm genuinely not trying to take it out on young Jayden. He's a young lad. I imagine he is going to be trying his absolute arse off and trying his best to make it. And I really hope he's a success. And if he does get registered, I pray he has a very good game. But what a lot of pressure to chuck on a 19-year-old shoulder. There you are, son. You've not had a training session yet with the team. You've not done anything like that. Go and jump into the back line that's an absolute circus and try to survive in a position you have not played for over 2 years, because last year he played left wing back. He never even played left back. Like, see the mere evidence you stick on that balancing scale when you look at all the stuff we're doing right now, it's absolutely ridiculous, and it's pure negligence in my personal opinion. We understand as fans how important this is to the club. So how's it that the club actually realised it put us in the best possible position to go ahead and succeed? But I know it sounds like I'm just moaning for the sake of moaning, and I'm trying to not be that guy, and I have to just go a wee bit of calmer. Wooza, wooza. I need to let the stress go, if you know, you know. But at the same time, man, I look at how important this game is, and I just see what we're doing, and it's just no meshing, and it's just not making sense to me, in my personal opinion. So I wanted to voice out there. So again, sorry if I think I'm being negative. I'm not trying to be or anything like that. But moving away from that potential registration, blah, 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 blah. If it isn't done, or even if it is done, there is a genuine possibility we're going into this game of football playing at least one right back at left back. So, yeah. Let's look at the team. And I'm not going to surprise anyone by talking about the goalkeeper, obviously, in terms of Jackie B, who was a lot of people's punching bag last season, but this season has been arguably our only good player on the defensive side of the game, and as he's been absolutely outstanding. And if we do reach the Champions League group stages, it's definitely on the back of the gloves, a big Jackie B. And I've got a feeling with the way they play and the way we are defensively, we're going to need a very, very big performance for the big man. But moving on to the right back spot, I'm going to go with Tavernier here. I'm expecting Tavernier to start this game for numerous reasons. One of them, Tazalis, isn't exactly the fastest player on the world, so it's not as burning regarding getting beyond, as Tavernier's obviously lost half a step in terms of his pace, so it's not really that type of game. But I also feel like Tavernier's needed in this game of football to balance out the rest of the defence, because next term we're going to have Giga, obviously, fully expecting the big man to play. I'm expecting Suter to come back in from Manny Fernandes, who played versus Alawa, and I'm expecting that the left back spot, whether registration is done or no, I'm expecting it to be Max freaking Aarons. Hence why Tav's at right back. I'm expecting Max Aarons to be at left back. But again, he could easily go with Jayden here and then bring in Max Aarons if we need him later on in the game, and if the young kid is struggling. So aye, defensively is my biggest worry. It really, really is. But I feel like I've said that for years at this football club. And you look around in terms of money spent, have we actually spent real money to go ahead and improve any freaking position? I mean, we spent rumoured to be up to £3 million for Manny Fernandes. Kid's not ready to play. Yeah, that's great. Let's spend money on projects. Yeah, that's superb. Love all that. Free the back four that could potentially be playing week in and week out when they're all up to speed. Will be here on loan. That's putting down roots. That's building a spine of the team. That's giving us a foundation to be successful. You know what I mean? With the majority of them not being here in a year. And if you actually look beyond just the loans and the clickbait of the loans, John Suter's contract's out at the end of the season. Tavernier is obviously towards the end of his Rangers career. You're looking at a genuine stage in 12 months' time. If we fast forward, every single defender we've got playing in a Champions League playoff game won't be here. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. But moving away from the defence, it's going to scare the life out of me. Just have a game, please, defence. You know what I mean? You give us enough bad ones. Just give us a good one, please. Right there. Moving on to the middle of the park, I think Nico Raskin will be starting this game of football alongside Rothwell, as both of them was rested regarding Alawa. And I think you've got to figure that out some way and somehow. Right, Rothwell's a very good ball carrier, and he's actually a better dribbler and being able to take people on and have shots. For Rangers, he's shown that during his time at Leeds and overall in his career. If Raskin wants to play the 6, drop him in the 6 and put Rothwell in there, because Diamandi's been an empty shot right now. Can we really argue anything else than that? I know he played very good, or scored a good goal, versus Club Brugge, but he's been empty. Is it any worse than trying something different? And if we do get Rothwell in that position, then that gives the opportunity for Lyle Cameron to run his absolute pan in. But again, I'm fully expecting Martin to go with either Rothwell, Diamandi and Raskin. I think it'll be back to basics for this game. Now the attack is probably the easiest part of this game of football to go ahead and look at, because every single one of them sort of picks himself. Right now you've got Gazama at the left wing spot. Despite Curtis's goal, I think Gazama will start. That's why he was rested to go ahead and play, and I think this game will really suit him. The right hand side, Ant-Man again's got to lift his level, as he was very good in his debut, then very poor in his next one. Curtis, I imagine, will be nipping at his heels, and you've got the likes of Mikey Moore pushing all those spots now, but I imagine it will be Mr. Ant-Man, and then up top I think it will be Danilo that's given the nod once again, just because where Egeman's fitness actually is. But honestly, see if I got to see Namora, Gazama, Ant-Man and Egeman all play at the exact same time just to start the game, I'd be like, right, there's goals in there. Because defensively, we've not really talked about Club Brugge. They do surprisingly concede a lot of goals, and they aren't great going back. Their defence is why they never won the league. Their attack gave them the best chance to win it, but defensively, that's why they never won, with the amount of goals they went ahead and conceded. So if we actually are able to take the best defence, the good offence, let's play our best good offensive players in this game of football and have them going back that way. Because if you're just sitting after them and not giving anything in behind and you're just letting them come that way, they will score goals. But again, they are very vulnerable defensively, and I just think Egeman's a type of boy, man, just to absolutely take one of them for a walk, if I'm honest with you. But hey, it might be the Danilo game. You just never know. But that's it, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Again, that's probably a long-winded way. I think Russell Martin's going to line up with Butland, Tav, Giga, Suter, Aarons. I think it will be Rothwell. I think it will be Diamande, Raskin. I think over on the left-hand side it will be Gazma. I think it will be Danny leading the line and Ant-Man. That's what I think it would do for me. Again, very brief. I'd go with Raskin. I'd go with Rothwell. I'd go with Cameron. I'd go Gazma. I'd go Egeman and Ant-Man. That's what I'd do right now, because that's what we've got available. But let me know your opinions down there in the old comment section below. How you're feeling about the game. Just how you're feeling about the recruitment. Just how you're feeling about where's the spine. I'm just not seeing any roots being planted, and I didn't understand it. If we are able to qualify, which we've definitely got an opportunity, by the way, to versus Club Brugge, then the club needs to go out here and improve this squad defensively and actually sign people that's going to be here more than 12 frickin' months. If they didn't, then there has to be some genuine questions asked, in my personal opinion, on what the hell are we building. Did they believe in Russell Martin or no? If they believe in him, give him players that's going to be here longer than 12 months. Let's start putting some roots down. Let's put some foundations down on the squad. That would be very nice. But come on, Rangers, man. European night, man. Fancy it. You know what I mean? I'm bringing the lucky hat. I'll bring it, troops. You know what I mean? It's probably going to be roasting because it is like a woolly hat. Where is it, actually? It's probably down the stairs getting washed, if I'm honest with you. But again, I will bring the lucky hat, so I'll try my best. But until tomorrow, after the game, which will probably be 1, 2 o'clock in the morning by the time I get home and film and everything like that, I've been sieging over 92. Let me know your predictions down there in the comment section below. I think the game's going to finish Rangers. Do you know what? I'm trying not to pick a channel favourite here, but it is screaming a channel favourite. I'm going to go Rangers 3, Club Brugge 1. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to go away for the channel for it. 3-1. Just please, Rangers. You know what I mean? Please. That would be sensational. What about you? Let me know your opinions down there in the old comment section below. The success so far in Europe has been built on good home performances. We really need one. Namora, will we get one? We'll find out about 2, 3 o'clock in the morning when we're sitting here looking eye to eye talking about the game and the aftermath. But until then, shout out the legends that are signed up to the channel legend memberships. We greatly appreciate you. If you have signed up in the last day, it does take a day or two to sort of sink in and get on to the list, but I'll get you added as soon as possible. Thank you all for that. Shout out those that have signed up to the supporter range as well, which is very kind as well. You don't need to do that, so the fact you do isn't lost on me and isn't taken for granted. And again, speaking of not taken for granted, everybody that takes time to watch this guy stumble over his lines, leave his phone on when he's recording, nearly turn off the laptop there by hitting the phone against it. Thank you all so much. I'll see you in the next video. All the best and bye.